Hello and welcome to the commentary for the RAAM's Shadow DLC campaign from Gears of War 3 4-player co-op. With me I've got Cypherin.
Hey everybody.
And I am MCAaronIce, and at the top left we have MetroidMcFly, and the top right we have RottDawg. This is a DLC campaign that was released for Gears of War 3. There's a full campaign with 5 acts in it. We are playing on casual difficulty because that is the fastest. The enemy health does scale with adding more players, so the enemies have, I believe, about 4 times the health that they normally would, so it does kind of equal out. But that's why we play it on casual. So this first section here is going to be this takes place as like a prequel to the Gears of War series. This is when the Locusts first arrive, which are kind of like an underground alien culture, and they've descended upon humanity. So this is a prequel to the whole series when they first show up. So we're basically just trying to get out, rescue as many people as they can, and get out. So you can see it just picks up right into the action here, where we're defending a spot with a big E-hole, which is where these things are emerging from, and we all have our different stations where we're taking to defend. You can see upper left is MetroidMcFly, where he's using a long shot, which is like a sniper rifle, to deal with enemies. Rott's on the turret, which has unlimited ammo, and it's very powerful. And then Cypherin and I are on the bottom here, just kind of providing cover fire. The most important thing is these Reavers. This is kind of an auto-scroller section, but the Reavers, getting those killed as fast as possible, are what kind of moved this progression along, so we're all taking aim at those when we can. On the bottom left there, you just saw me throw a grenade, so there are some holes that will open up. This is going to come up throughout the entire game. That open up, and that's where enemies come out of. If you can put an explosive on the hole, it will close the hole up, and no enemies will come out of it. If you don't close it up, then enemies kind of come out, sometimes 2, 4, 6 enemies. So closing those up as fast as possible are imperative. So here Cypherin got hit by a Reaver and got knocked down. And I'm closing up an E-hole first before I revive him. You are able to revive people if you do it quick enough, but if you're down and you get hit a specific way, you can die, and that'll kick you back to a checkpoint. So you have to be careful. I don't think we really lost any time here because the Reavers weren't here yet. So, so at this point, you can see on McFly's screen that he's moved to this kind of overhead view. This is something where it's unlocked. This kind of Hammer of Dawn, where he can attack these Reavers, and we're coordinating together where he's only taking out the left side because it's slow to move, and the rest of us are all just shooting the right Reavers. And now we both take off because this is the very last Reaver. So once he kills this Reaver, as soon as it dies, we can kick this door open, boom, immediate, and Cypherin and I take off. So some of these doors require 2 people to be at them to open. A lot of them do, and that's why Cypherin and I are running together, because this one actually does take 2.
Yeah, and if you're not careful, you can actually soft lock at that door too. It happened to me several times in previous runs.
Yeah, this game has some odd glitches in it, and I think some of it might be from, playing over the internet, or just having 4 different Xboxes running at the same time. There's a few things that come up that are kind of peculiar, so getting a good run outside of the glitches is kind of an important thing to do. So here we get our first view of a Brumac. We'll see one of those later. It's kind of like one of the big bad enemies they have. So this game has a lot of different enemies. They have kind of little small guys that we're about to run into called Wretches that kind of bounce around. There's the normal kind of human-sized guys. They usually have different weapons. They have kind of different styles about them, and then there's the Reavers that they can fly in on, and there's some other ones as well we'll come across as we go through. So McFly picked up some grenades. So he's going to hit that E-hole immediately in the upper left to block it up. You can see he killed the guys coming out, and the hole immediately closed up, so no one came out.
Yeah, and the rest of us are just taking down the Wretches as quickly as we can. Usually we like to use the chainsaw just because we know it's a surefire kill against them, but if you can also get them with the Lancer, just machine gun them, that works well.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's one of the biggest things about Gears of War is the Lancer weapon. That's kind of their claim to fame, which is basically a machine gun style weapon that also has a chainsaw built into it. So you can, if you chainsaw an enemy, most enemies are able to be chainsawed, and if you do, that's a one-hit kill. If otherwise, you can just shoot stuff. So here we kind of are a little bit coordinated here. You could see McFly was shooting some snipers up on the roof. Everything has to die for this to progress on, and he cooked those guys out. The rest of us focused on the enemies on the ground, and we picked up some ammo, and now we're ready to go. So there's going to be 4 E-holes that pop open here. RottDawg has a boom shot, which is kind of like a grenade launcher that we got from one of the enemies there. He's got 3 shots on it and 4 E-holes to plug up. So he's going to pop between 3 of them really quickly, close them up immediately. No enemies even come out thanks to that. Actually, he did have 4. He did have 4, sorry. And then that's the 4th shot there. And he waits just an extra second so those enemies come out because we're going to collect those weapons.
Yeah, in particular, a torque bow for use later.
A torque bow is like sort of like a crossbow, bow and arrow with an explosive arrow. So it's another explosive that can close E-holes, which again is one of the most important things we do. I was using kind of like a mini turret type of thing you can carry around that we got from the weapons. One nice thing about this game is that all the weapons that the enemies use, you can also use. So I'm collecting some ammo for later, some boom shot ammo, and while McFly and I believe Cypherin's going to the door. Anyway, 2 people have to get to this door here to open it. There's a little bit of a cutscene.
Yep.
So we try to take a lot of care to make sure that we're prepared. You know, having the right guns and the right ammo throughout the run is very important. So we try to split up so some people who don't need stuff, they can, you know, move the level forward by getting to the doors or wherever they need to go, while the rest of us can be picking up the ammos that we need or getting set up and things like that. And that's exactly what's happening here. Like RottDawg right now is running to progress the story. He's hitting a switch that's going to open this door, and the rest of us here, we're collecting ammo and discussing what our counts are. One cool thing of this game is you can actually share ammo. So if you have the same weapon type, you can share it, or you can share your grenades. So we can communicate that throughout the run to share our stuff, to make sure that everybody's got what they need.
Yeah, and I think that was a huge strat for us as we saw our time start to go down even more when we became more mindful of the ammo we were holding on to.
So there's, ammo, guns, grenades kind of laying about throughout the kind of static locations throughout the game. So we know where most of them are that are important to us. There are ways to get where an enemy might drop grenades. There's some ways to make them drop grenades if you really need them. So we try to, it's a little slower. We try to keep that in mind. So we can make up for it. So you can sometimes get lucky with a grenade drop that might make up for ones where you don't have to pick them up later and save time, thanks to that. This is another spot where, there's a little bit of a delay where we have to wait for this door to open every time so we can go around and explore and pick up ammo, which is, what the game intends for you to do anyway, and make sure that we're all set. And as we enter this bank vault, this is the last room of the first act. So we're just waiting for this to come out, and there's going to be some wretches here that we take care of, and then 3 E-holes. There's one that's going to be open right in front of my screen in the bottom left is where it's going to open. And Rott's going to take that out with a torque bow shot. And he's going to do another one. There's one on each side is going to come out. And he's using his torque bow here to plug the hole. And what's going to happen here is that when this one opens and he shoots, he actually hits the enemy crawling out of it and gets a headshot. And so it did not explode. It didn't close the hole. So I was watching him with the boom shot just as a backup, and so when that didn't close, I immediately shot my boom shot to close it up while he went to the next hole, and we were able to not lose any time waiting for that. And that is the end of Act 1.
Now you'll get to see a switch Well, is it right away?
Yeah,
Okay, well,
yeah.
not.
There's a little cutscene here of just of these guys talking. But one of the cool things, this is the first time in any of these Gears of War games where they allow you to play as the locusts as well as the enemies in the game. So the main enemy is General RAAM. He's the kind of antagonist of the first Gears of War, and since this is a prequel, this is kind of about the first encounter of him with the humans. And so McFly gets to control General RAAM. He's got a cool charging attack that he can run at people with, and he also has a krill, which are kind of like crows, I guess, in a way, that he can control and kind of send them around like a swarm, and they'll kind of kill whatever he aims at. RottDawg has just a more general locust with a sawed-off shotgun. That's kind of, you get one shot with it. It's really slow to reload, but it kills people pretty heavily. And then Cypher and I are both maulers. We just can swing these big things and slam them down. They're pretty slow, but they're powerful. And so this part is like a kill everything area, and these enemies are spawning in very specific locations. And so we've all split up and have gone to these locations, and we're kind of responsible for our own little spots to kill everybody as they come in. So you can see Cypherin and I are both staked out on different sides. Rott ran all the way to the back because there was a spawn zone back there, and he killed those guys before they could even come in. And that gets us out of this room as soon as could possibly be done. You can see McFly's killing guys with this krill thing over the top of the wall even. And I guess the idea here is that we're sending these kind of locust seeders around to spread the locust, is the plot.
Yeah, to darken the sky. Yep.
Yeah, so we're just kind of spreading ourselves around. So we're going to rush this room here. There's some guys up on the ledges that Cypher and I really can't help with, so you can see McFly trying to take those guys out. Rott's cleaning up a lot of the guys on the stairs around there, and then the most important thing is this helicopter shows up, and there's a gunner inside the helicopter, and when McFly's immediately on it with that his krill attack, which crashes the helicopter, kills the rest of the guys on the ledge, and if everybody's done their job, then it immediately kicks us to the next area. We can immediately move on.
We will be but one step away.
So this is another spot here where everybody kind of knows the path of where they want to run, because where the enemies are. McFly's taking the upper people, because that's the only place you can get. Cypher and I are kind of clean up on the backside, smashing people as they come over the ceiling and when they're hiding behind cars. And then Rott can just dash around wherever he wants and shoot people if he needs to.
Yeah, then he get away from us as they come over the buildings and stuff. Rott will do the cleanup.
Yeah, these guys don't drop down super consistently. Sometimes they'll drop down immediately in one pair. Sometimes it'll be one then the other. And you swing so slowly with the mauler that it can sometimes be hard to get both of them at the same time. So it's helpful to have McFly and Rott nearby to clean up if stuff goes awry.
Your queen is proud of your work. Move on to the final emergence point. Leave none alive.
All right, so we're off to another place where we're just going to kill everybody in sight. There's some turret guys.
Yeah, you gotta be careful because some of these little guys will run past you, and especially for Aaron and I being the slow maulers, it's just hard to chase after them. So we do the best we can to keep them sort of, in check.
Yeah, it probably looks a little bit like it's kind of an auto-scroller type of thing where we're going from place to place, but we're really being careful because if any of these enemies kind of they take cover, this is intended to be a cover shooter, and if they take cover and you run past them, you don't see them. That's where you lose a lot of time because every single enemy has to die before you can progress in this part of the game. And that's meant to be that way, throughout the game. We don't do a lot of cover shooting because we're playing on casual and we're trying to be really fast. But if you're playing by yourself or on a harder difficulty, you would be taking cover a lot, kind of popping out behind walls and things like that, which you see the enemies do quite a bit.
Yep. And so again here we had our designated positions. Aaron and I were taking out guys as they were coming up some stairs underneath the ground. McFly was shooting his krill over the wall, and Rot was just at the ready to do cleanup and if we needed him to.
And that's the first piece of locust fighting. So this is it's a cool little stretch here. This is going to be like one of the more coordinated runs here. We're making sure everybody who has the shots that has the ammo and stuff that they need for the explosives ready to go. So I called that I'd take out this first E-hole. So everybody's cleaning up the enemies. I'm going to blow up the E-hole to close it up. I immediately take off because there's going to be an E-hole all the way across. You can see McFly is shooting snipers up on the roof, and there's also these guys up here who are shooting mortars. Those can only be killed, with some kind of ranged weapon. So McFly takes those guys off, and you can see that the E-holes were already spawned as soon as he killed those guys. So we're all cleaning up people at different parts of the area at once, and that's it. We've killed everybody kind of as fast as they could be killed. As soon as they were coming out, they were already dead, and we were at the door as soon as it could happen. And that was just from coordinating everybody taking their own spots of what they needed to do. And part of that too was picking up, some of those enemies dropped weapons and making sure we picked up those weapons that we needed. I myself and RottDawg both wanted to have boom shots here. So there's this next area, they provide us free boom shots, but you have to kind of go back to an armory to pick them up, and we want to be able to immediately use our boom shots to get this fight engaged here. So there's the main goal here is to blow away all of these pillars, and there's 2 E-holes. So you see Rot shot a pillar and an E-hole there. I'm waiting here on the bottom left screen. I've got an E-hole that's right up next to us, and then I start shooting at the pillars. McFly and Cypherin have been shooting the pillars this whole time. Once we clear off all of those pillars, there's just a couple of random straggler guys who try to climb up the walls with these grappling hooks. If you shoot the grappling hooks, they automatically die if you can shoot the hook before they start to climb up. And we have more boom shots we can just pick up in the back to refill ourselves, as long as like an infinite ammo cache as well back there that we can get set with. So the prize for doing all this is that we get to fight a huge Brumac who's going to come breaking out of this building here, and all of us are going to be loaded up with our boom shots ready to go when he does come through.
Got no idea, Val, but I can feel it in my damn boots.
It's moving toward your position.
Still remember that one time the Brumac killed all of us with just a missile barrage.
Yeah, so we do have to be careful to make sure he actually dies, but as soon as he shows up, we all shoot. Basically take a third shot, but he dies kind of in between that, and that's it. So it's about as fast as it could possibly get. One time we thought he was dead because we all shot our 3 shots. I don't know what happened, and we just turned around to go get our ammo, and he wasn't dead. So he shot a bunch of missiles at us, and we all died right next to each other, looking the wrong direction.
All transport secure. Not an easy achievement, Zeta.
Thanks, Control.
So we've saved the day here for the moment and crushed that building.
McFly and Rod are doing their victory dance.
And now we're off to the next section. So I believe this next section is a school or an administration building, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's a school. Yeah.
This place has COG written all over.
Oh, so one thing, you'll occasionally see my character put his hand next to his head. He's talking through a earpiece or whatever. And if I mash the button during those cutscenes, I'm able to skip that, which allows us to just take off running, just as you see here.
Yeah.
And at this point, Rod and I, we rush ahead. Aaron and McFly, they can stay back because they'll get teleported to us. But we're rushing just so that we can open up one of those 2-person doors coming up.
Yeah, these are some skinny walkways, so we try to stay out of their way. This is another section here, so RottDawg is really the only person who needs to run for this, but I follow him just in case there's anything that comes up or if he has a problem or something, but he's just rushing to get to a switch to enable for us to move to the next section.
Hello?
Yeah, McFly and I, we just sit back here, just goofing off while we wait, while they're doing all the hard work.
And so this is one of the glitches in the game, which Cypherin and McFly are noticing right now, is that what they've hit is that their melee is not working. It's some glitch with the game that can happen sometimes, and the only fix for it is to either get a loading screen or to reset the checkpoint. And you know, we had just started this area, so we were kind of in trouble a little bit on what we were going to do, because they can't melee, they're not able to chainsaw, which is, there's going to be some wretch fights come up that we always chainsaw with. The other issue that's, I guess we could discuss now, is if you can't melee, you can't tag with grenades. So the grenades, what you've mostly seen so far is that we kind of swing them to our side and kind of toss them. But if you hold them, you can also melee with them, and if you melee an enemy, it can stick to an enemy, or you can melee a wall, and it'll kind of stick to a wall like a trap, that when something comes close, it'll blow up. And there's a fight coming up where we utilize that quite a bit, so we were a little concerned here because my melee button was still working, but everyone else's had glitched. And the debate was, do we give up 10 to 15 seconds of resetting a checkpoint, or do we just try to push through and see what happens? So you can see on my screen, like I'm chainsawing these wretches, which is what we would normally do, because they kind of just, as long as you're standing next to one, when they come out of these exits, they just will get immediately sucked into your chainsaw and die. And plus it doesn't use any ammo, which is nice. So I don't think we lost any real time here, because you're able to, you can honestly shoot guys faster than chainsawing them, but there's just a little more risk because they could run around, plus you're wasting your ammo. Luckily there is enough kind of ammo at this spot that we can kind of make up for it. Wasn't a huge deal.
Right. And on my side with Rott here, Rott is sort of being the bait. He's playing the bait, but occasionally also rushing over to help Aaron and McFly, because they're right now getting swarmed with more wretches than we were. So Rott will be the bait near where the wretches are coming out, and I'm just shooting them as they try to tag Rott.
Yeah, and so our weapon loadouts kind of change over time. For the most part, once I can get the boom shot, I've got a lancer. You can hold two kind of main weapons, plus like a pistol weapon, and then grenades, and you can hold up to 4 grenades. So I mostly have just a lancer and the boom shot. Cypherin, I believe you pretty much have that in the boom shot as well most of the time. McFly likes to have the sniper rifle, and then Rott likes to have the sawed-off shotgun. So this is a really highly coordinated room here. You can tag the ground with grenades where the E-holes will appear, and so as soon as they show up, they blow up. So Rott and I are both attempting to do that. McFly is killing this sniper guy because he can one-shot kill us. So he's clearing that guy out. And we're rushing from E-hole to E-hole to close them up as soon as they appear. Because of the melee situation, Rott was not actually able to stick his E-hole, so I had to run back after getting mine and cover for him to close up his E-hole as quickly as I could. Luckily, he was able to get back in time for these enemies to kill them very quickly. But I mean, this room is very fast. You can see we're already done with it before I could even finish explaining it. But if we had not been that coordinated to hit all those E-holes, it would have taken 5 times as long. A lot of enemies would have come out of all of those. So it's kind of neat just to be able to, where stuff is going to be. You can plant grenades there and have them ready for it. And as soon as they start to open, they're already closed again. And just because you're prepared for it.
Yeah, quick shout out to you in that last area where you flipped over that E-hole just as it was opening up. Because if you're near an E-hole, it'll stun you. And like you can't move momentarily, but somehow Aaron was able to continue moving. Yeah,
I didn't have much choice. I was trying to get there as fast as I could to deal with Rott's E-hole, and I just ran right over the top of it, and for some reason it didn't stun me, so it's very lucky. So here normally with these wretches falling from the sky, normally we would stand right where they fall and have our chainsaw revving. So they just kind of fall into our chainsaw and we kill them immediately. But since nobody's chainsaws was working but mine, we were not able to do that. We had to shoot them So I would think that one may have cost us a few seconds here and there. And you could see that McFly and RottDawg just are sharing ammo back and forth there. We all kind of gave each other some ammo to get people back on track. McFly was having some ammo issues, probably a lot because of the melee not working and having to shoot more than he's used to. So we were backing him up and sharing our ammo with him.
Sounds like you already left.
And of course, doing our weapon checks as well, checking how many grenades we have, because we know there's a huge battle coming up soon with those grenades.
This place is a great.
Yeah, and
Graveyard?
we tend to try to have me and Cypherin both have a bunch of grenades, but since it involves tagging, and Cypherin was not able to do that, and we had decided at this point that we're just going to go for it and see what happens. And so it didn't matter if Cypherin had grenades because he wasn't going to be able to really use them properly. So as long as I had 4, we were just going to make do with that.
Yep.
That's something upcoming that we'll talk about when we get there. So these are tickers. This is another enemy type. They're just little kind of rat-like things that kind of run around. The orange ones run up to you and explode. The other ones, I guess the other ones explode too. I don't know why they're that much different, but they're all tickers. You can kick them, you can shoot them. So we just kind of, you have to kill all of them in here. So we're trying to spread out to get them all killed without leaving too many behind as we progress through this room to get to the wall. Our little robotic buddy is named Jack. He kind of materializes and disappears to open doors for us and things. So he's opening the door at the end of this corridor for us. Sometimes he's in our way at the doors, so we have to wait for him to disappear, but sometimes you can kind of squeeze in front of him, and here we squeezed in front of him when he was supposed to be attacking this door, so he's actually floating up in the air above us, nowhere near the door, even though he says he's unlocking it.
The boy, Jace, said they were close. Like
Shout outs to McFly calling him Jeff. Don't know why he calls him Jeff.
No, Jake. He calls him Jake.
Oh, Jake. My bad.
So here's another E-hole situation with a bunch of enemies around, and there's some wretches that fall from the sky as well. So we try to split up and make sure we've got the ammo that we need, because we drop. There's some torque bows that drop here. Around the corner, those doors are going to open, and there's some grenadiers that come out. So if you attack them a certain way, you can grenade out of them.
Yeah, if you basically take out their legs, they'll get downed, and then you can pick them up and I guess like take them out by grabbing them, and you'll grab the grenades off of them.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you can use them as like human shields.
Did any of them make it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Damn it.
So
We couldn't
then,
even protect
yeah, this next part coming up is just a room where we start collecting ammo again and checking our reserves and start sharing amongst each other. You can see on Rott's screen he's sharing with McFly there,
I'll tell you what the cog did for me.
and with Aaron as well.
The cog
And I'm slowly catching up.
Yeah, we're about to enter a room, a locker room,
And when I was stranded,
with a bunch of different enemies in there.
cog gave me a gun and sent me here to do the same thing to someone else. This was your home once, Val. Is the cog doing what it can for you?
I don't know.
Man, even now I'm like,
Locusts are real.
Jack, hurry up.
Every
He's like,
life we
geez,
save
man.
today is something special. Is another chance
But
for
then,
something.
of course, while we're playing, we're also getting commentary from the game, so the story keeps us, entertained as well. Yeah, now we're in this locker room where we're coming across some enemies known as, I think, correct me, Aaron, centipedes, right? Something like that?
Cerapedes.
Cerapedes, my bad. So yeah, we got these cerapedes coming up where you can only attack them from behind in their weak point. You can shoot them in the front and stun them. Like if you shoot their face, you can stun them, but you have to shoot them in their weak point in their tail. There's like acid glowing end of their tail, and that's how you can kill them. And pretty much here I got downed. If they get up on you, they can almost like chain you with their attack, and you can go down pretty quickly.
Yeah, these guys are very dangerous to knock you down. So if they're chasing you, you kind of have to move around and try to stay alive. So as you shoot their kind of rear end, they're segmented, so each segment individually kind of blows up. So you kind of want to get behind them with your Lancer and go to town on them. But you have to kind of split up between who's getting chased and who's not.
Mm-hmm. And then there was like 2 other enemies in that room that like to sneak up on you. We had to take them out as well with the
Yeah, and there's some maulers there as well, but we never see them because Rott just immediately kills them very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we're heading into the Berserker Fight. So this is probably the biggest kind of choke point of this game, just because it's a difficult fight to do fast, and it's very dangerous, and we killed ourselves so many times on it. It's very difficult. So this Berserker is really big. He'll dash at you. He'll either slam the ground or he'll dash at you. Right here, we need him to break these boxes. They can only be broken by him. And we actually got quite lucky that he ran after Cypherin on the far side. So we have to pull this switch. So we got lucky that he ran the far side and then ran towards the switch. Because if we're not all together, he just kind of randomly picks someone to run after, and we're trying to keep him, directed the way we need him to break all those blocks. So McFly and I are taking off because we're going to go to the next section, and this Berserker is going to join us out there, where we're going to have to fight him. And so the way to kill a Berserker is you have to get him on fire. It makes him much more vulnerable to attacks. And so there's a Scorcher here, which is kind of like a flamethrower that Rott picks up. You can also blow up the cars to get him. So when he's orange glowing there, that means he's kind of vulnerable. So you can see that Rott's shooting with the Scorcher to make him vulnerable. I'm running up to him with the grenades, and I'm sticking him with the grenades. And the grenades can hurt other people. So I stuck him with the grenades. He dashed off, and he downed 2 other people because of that. So we had to revive them immediately. If he runs into them or if a grenade blows up next to them, they can die. And that's it. He's already dead. So you can kill him pretty quickly if you stick him with grenades. It's just a lot of coordination to not stick him with a grenade and then have that grenade blow up and ruin your run, send you back to a checkpoint or something.
The Cedars arrive.
Yeah, and you can almost say it was a double-edged sword that our melee weapons glitched out, because then it only left it to where Aaron was able to stick them with grenades, and the rest of us had to use our active reloads.
Yeah, it forced us to play safe. So yeah, we'll have to talk about active reloading. I haven't talked about that yet. It doesn't come into play as much during these locust sections. We have the same kind of situation here again. Everybody's the same characters as they were before. Cypher and I are taking care of the stragglers in the back while McFly and Rott kind of push forward to progress the fight and to take care of any enemies that are not on ground level, because we can only hit stuff on the ground. Just like the last section, you can see this extra kind of guy kind of waddling around with this big hammer. We're kind of escorting him around. He slams the hammer into the ground, which then that's what allows these cedars to show up. That's the story, at least. So once we clear out all the enemies, sometimes you do still have to wait for him to catch up. So McFly gets an interesting glitch here that we should point out, where he grabs this guy to execute him at the same time that Rott kills him, and he just disintegrates right in his hands. So again, this is another kind of an arena section. They have like these little mech suits that McFly's dealing with here, these silverbacks, and you can actually get inside them, so you can see RottDawg is inside of it there. It has like a turret attack that you can use, again with like unlimited ammo. It has a cooldown if you use too much of it, but it does have unlimited ammo. So we've already cleared out that area. We're moving on to the next area with some more enemies to kill. And once we kill all these guys here, we just have to wait for the big hammer guy to show up and progress the fight once more. Luckily, these silverbacks really aren't a big deal in casual. They don't hurt you too bad, and with RAAM's krill attack, like he kills the guy inside of it almost immediately. It's really no big deal.
Yep. So now here we're just again waiting for the guy to do his thing.
So we
Get a quick cut. Oh,
yeah,
go
so,
ahead.
so we split up here a little bit to kill stuff. McFly kills a couple guys. I stay behind, and then I think McFly's going to come back here with me. Yeah, he comes back here with me. This garage opens up, and there's like 5 or 6 guys in there, so we work together to clear those guys out quickly. And I think there's one straggler here for us that I have to slam to kind of slip past them. But again, once everybody dies, it's just on to the next section.
Mm-hmm.
And we did find that garage would only open once you executed certain people, so that's what helped us kind of move stuff faster. And that's why we kind of did it in the order that we did it, so that garage would open sooner, so we can end everything faster.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing to note that'll come up later is that with that Scorcher, RottDawg was using the Scorcher. You can trade weapons as well. So RottDawg's going to give McFly that Scorcher, and he's going to hold on to that for the rest of the game. It's kind of nice that even though you're switching between humans and locusts, you do keep your weapons, your human, whatever weapons you finished the last chapter with in the humans, you still have them here. So whatever you set yourself up with for good or bad is what you still have to use. So it helps you kind of plan out what you're going to do. So this again is another kind of an arena here with 3 E-holes that open plus some tickers to deal with. So we're communicating that on who's going to take what. You can see Rott's ready for one in the middle. Cypherin's tagging the ground here for another one that opens, and I had my boom shot that I'm about to shoot into the third one. And that's it. And so those E-holes are taken care of immediately before we even saw any enemies. And then some boomers come out here, so this is a good place for us to get our boomer ammo back. Rott is able to just clobber those guys with his sawed-off shotgun.
Right.
And then we just rush up to this door, another 2-person door.
Brother, I think I'm gonna say that about you one day.
So this is a good time to talk about that active reloading. So one of the things about how this game works is you can see when we're firing, especially with the Lancer or something, when we go to reload, there's a kind of white bar with an extra kind of brighter white spot on it when we reload. So if you click the button once to reload your entire, you have to wait for that line to move from left all the way to the right, and you'll reload. If you click the reload button a second time, anywhere in that kind of like gray area, you will immediately reload. So it's a way to reload quicker. And then in the little bright white line at the very start of that gray line, if you put it there, then all the ammo that you load into your clip at that moment becomes more powerful. And you'll see that on people's ammo. You can see Rott's shell there is flashing. And that means that he had an active reload on that shot, and it does 50% more damage. And so you'll see that throughout. If you see we have flashing bullets, that just means that we did an active reload. And they get progressively harder the more you do them in a row. But you know, after you've done them a few times, it's really not too difficult to do. You'll get them the majority of the times. Yeah. And if you miss it completely, like I just did there, you can see it takes me a lot longer to reload. So you have to be careful in certain spots that can really jam you up, and other times it doesn't matter so much. So this is the first instance. This is all over the series where you can have diverging paths. This is the only instance of it in this game, in this campaign. McFly and I are up on the rooftops, and Cypherin and RottDawg are down on the street levels below us, and we just kind of each have our own kind of designated paths of what we're trying to do, where we'll meet up here in a moment. You can see there's a mulcher, which is kind of like a mini turret that was laying on the ground that I let McFly handle that enemy with, so I don't waste any ammo, and then I use the boom shot to close up a couple E-holes while we wait for Cypherin and Rott to make it through this building and take these guys out.
Thanks for the assist.
And that's it. They come around the corner and say, "You guys got everything?" And say,
I'm
"Yep."
always watching your ass.
Great. Let's go through this door.
And so this part here, a few of us hang back because this is an ammo room. Rod and I are picking up ammo so that we can share with the team further down the road.
And I grabbed some grenades here off to the side. That's one nice thing about the fact that you can share ammo and things. So two people can kind of, depending how many it takes, one or two people can progress to the next section while one or two people deal with ammo situations, and then we can all share. And if we need to make up for that. So this is kind of more of an arena here again, where things kind of come in waves as we kind of progress through here. There's some wretches early on and some guys kind of guarding the top, some regular locos kind of guarding the top here, and then they're going to start kind of pouring over the side with grappling hooks, and then they're going to come in with e-holes, and then some reavers are going to come in as well. And everybody kind of has their own spots of where they're planning on going, because again, we want to make sure we hit the e-holes as soon as they open up so no enemies come out of them. So everybody's communicating that with each other here to make sure we get the right ones. You can see Cypherin's taking out the middle one right there, and there's some ones open in the back where grenades are already planted, so they can close them up immediately. There's a special kind of machine gun here that's in the top middle that I'm going to use. It's a two-person machine gun, so I pick up the machine gun, and the other thing is like an ammo box that the other person just holds to reload for you, because you can't reload it yourself. And I use those on the reavers here as soon as they show up, because the reavers take a lot of hits. And unfortunately, I was a little late to start aiming at them, so they started immediately bombarding me, and they do knock me down. Luckily, since it's a two-person gun, Rot's right next to me to pick me up, so I'm able to take him out quickly. And fortunately, that mulcher we needed to kill is right next to the reaver, so we were able to take them out both together and not lose too much time.
We need that command center.
But I think generally speaking that those reavers could have died probably a little bit sooner if I was ready, but I was helping out, some of the guys crawling over the top on the side.
Yeah, that section can be pretty challenging with the reavers. They can down you really quick. One quick thing I wanted to mention, I don't know if anyone noticed, we were using our chainsaws again. That was because the axe, switching between the axe loads the game back up. So earlier when we couldn't use the chainsaws, we can now at this point. So you'll see that. You've probably already seen it, but you'll see us using the chainsaws again. And this section's interesting. On my screen, I pre-plant a grenade off to the left against this gate to make sure that there's some enemies that are going to come back behind us pretty much. And Rod and I will go back and take care of them while McFly and Aaron push forward to activate some switch that's past these enemies here.
Yeah, so basically everything has to die here to progress. So while McFly and I finished off the last guy, Rot and Cypherin are already going back around to prepare for this next wave of enemies that are going to come out. McFly's going to hop on another one of those command center things, the Hammer of Dawn, where he has like the overhead view, and he has to kill some reavers that are kind of unrelated to anything else going on, but it's something that he has to do. So Cypherin and Rot kind of have their system here of how they're taking out these guys that come out, and I'm providing some cover fire from across the way with the pistol rather ineffectually, but I'm attempting to help while they clear these guys off and hanging out near McFly, because the next place we're going as soon as everybody dies is right next to where we had originally progressed, where McFly was. So I'm just waiting by the door for everybody to die, and boom, we're just going to kick it open and start running immediately.
Let's see if we have comms back.
So Cypher and Rot were way far behind because they were dealing with those enemies, but they get warped ahead to hang out with us. So a lot of the cutscenes you can skip by mashing the back button, and like Cypher said earlier, there's some dialogue. Sometimes you can skip the dialogue as well. You can see we're not always running, especially to start certain areas. We're just kind of slowly walking and talking. That's kind of forced on you as the story progresses. So there's at least one point where you can kind of skip the conversation But a lot of times, if you don't see us running, that's why, because we're kind of in a discussion part.
At least we can turn it into a nightmare.
So this is the entrance to another kind of construction zone, and it's kind of a smash and grab situation. We're trying to kill everybody as fast as we can to progress to the next section. You see a lot of people doing chainsaws because it's quick to kill people. McFly on the upper left, like he chained somebody. Unfortunately, it gets him right in this doorway where I normally throw grenades, so I wasn't able to help Rott quite as quickly, so I have to run down the steps to help him. But Cypherin had already made it down there to help out, and Rott also, he got in this loader and was able to punch. I didn't know you could kill people with the loader, but he was able to punch the guy with the loader to kill him, so it kind of made up for it.
Nice.
This is kind of like, you know, just a conceit of the game. They want you to get in this loader to push forward, so Rott's doing the honors here to protect us from these machine guns here, these turrets, to get us into this next section. We just have to get behind and follow him.
This area after the loader part here is one of my favorites in the game. Again, we all just have our coordinated methods that we're doing, taking out the minions as they pop out of these mini E-holes.
Yeah, these guys are just kind of coming from the ground, so they're not traditional E-holes that we need to plug up, because it's just one person at a time. There is one in the upper left here that McFly is about to take out, but the rest of the guys are just popping out kind of one by one, and these are tougher enemies as well. Like, they're kind of above your standard Locust guys. They have more health and more powerful weapons as well. So RottDawg actually has one of the mortars, so he's able to kind of line it up, and he's able to, you know, rain fire down from the sky as soon as certain enemies come out that take a little more effort to deal with, which are these kind of guys who ride on top of these weird Locust guys. And they're a real pain, because if you kill they're called blood mounts. If you kill the creature, then the guy is still alive. If you kill the guy, the creature's still alive. So you do have to get both of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I try to make sure as soon as they pop out to weaken them with a few boom shot ammo.
Yeah, the easiest thing to do is kill the creature first, because the creature is really annoying, and then while the guy is kind of stunned to get back up, then you can work on the guy. Otherwise, if you kill the guy first, the blood mount thing is just running around like crazy and causing all sorts of trouble.
Right.
So here we're just trying to, we shared some more ammo around, so everybody could have some grenades and stuff for the fights coming up. And with that, we have cleared another section. Act 4 is complete. And might be able to see on our splits, but we are doing great. The previous split we were about a minute ahead, and now we're 2 minutes ahead. So this was a heck of a run for us, because we'd done several runs at this point, and we'd never been anywhere close to this. We were on a pace we didn't think was possible at this rate, so we were getting pretty excited.
Mm-hmm. So here, rushing down, taking out more of these small bad guys. One thing to note is in the story now, Rott's character has changed. His previous character, Val, she unfortunately passed at the hands of RAAM. So now I forget who this other character's name is.
I think it's her little brother or something.
Yeah.
Jace.
Yeah, Jace. There we go.
I think he's in later in some of, like, this is a prequel, so he's an established character just when you first meet him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we killed a bunch of guys. There's another E-hole here. There's also some grappling hook guys who are coming along the walls. You can see me shooting grappling hooks in the bottom left there to keep those guys from coming in, and then these smaller guys come popping in along with some grenadiers. So this is just kind of a total mayhem spot here where we're just shooting everything we can to try to take these guys out. If you shoot at the guys with the shields, obviously you don't do much damage, but also the shields reflect bullets back into you, so that actually damages you, so you have to be kind of careful.
I got that achievement earlier in probably like the first act.
Yeah, when you control them all, or you can aim the bullets back and kill enemies, which is pretty neat.
Mm.
So I made my way to the door while they were kind of finishing the guys off, along with McFly, so we could you know, progress the story as quickly as possible once those enemies died. We were ready to get moving.
That sky does not look good.
So this section here is it's kind of like a mini boss fight, I would say. There's kind of like this extra powerful locust that they want us to deal with, and he comes from. He's got a torque bow, and he comes out at different spots. You know, being that this is on casual and there's 4 of us, and we kind of know what we're doing. Like, he really poses no risk at all, and he's not much of a boss fight. There's, you know, some waves of enemies that come out. There's these guys who kind of rappel down. There's some tickers that pop out. They kind of go in waves, and then after we kill a few guys, you know, he comes out again. We all shoot at him. He kneels down after you do enough damage, and then takes off running. And so it just, you have to do that 4 or 5 times to do enough damage, and then you can finally off him.
Yeah, because as he kneels, he gets covered by krill, and they protect him. So
yeah, so you can't. It's kind of, you're forced into completing all the waves. You can't over damage him, at least not that we've been able to ascertain. It does have like a waypoint system. You can see it's popping up on our screens, that eyeball with the Y button. So it wants you to look at something. You can just press Y and look at it. So we're able to, as soon as it comes out, it lets you look at him. You know exactly where he is. So we just all immediately start shooting him as soon as he shows up. It's really not, you don't even have to communicate where he is because the game tells you.
mm-hmm.
There he goes.
So this is the, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think this is the last cycle with them. Once we get past these tickers here, it should be the last phase.
Yeah, you can see McFly is just completely out of ammo at this point. He's got nothing left. You know, partially, you know, he's been holding onto the Scorcher since Act 3. Well, Rott gave it to him in Act 4, I guess, but so that's one of his main weapons that he hasn't been able to really use at all because he's saving it for the end of the game. But we're able to pass this stuff around. Rott runs up ahead. There's some grenades around the corner just to be extra safe here for this fight. We make sure he picks them up. As soon as he picks them up, boom, we hit the door and push through. And this is where we're on to the final phase coming up here. There's a kind of like an ammo cache set up to get you ready. There's an ammo cache in the next section already, so it's not really a big deal. I don't even pick anything up here, and neither does McFly. We just go up to the door to get to the next section, which is out front of an orphanage. So this will be the final fight at the end of the game here, where we fight General RAAM, and there's some enemies as well. So there's going to be, while we're fighting him, there's e-holes kind of all over the place. So we're all loaded out to deal with that. We have to take out a couple of these enemies first. Here on the front steps, there's this ammo cache there, so we have unlimited ammo as long as we make it back to this ammo cache. It just gives us ammo for our main weapons, so like our Lancer. So RAAM's flying around in the sky here. You see him land up on this building. You shoot him. Flies around some more. Some enemies spawn. He lands somewhere else. You shoot him. So that's the first phase. Is just shooting him up on the building. Do enough damage, it goes away. So you can see RottDawg and Cypherin kind of moving around from e-hole to e-hole here to prepare. Cypherin's sticking the ground where some are going to come. RottDawg's waiting for him to show up so he can toss him in. And Fly's just waiting on RAAM so he can start shooting him as soon as he lands. I also did the same. There's a couple e-holes in the corner back here by the orphanage side as well that come out in the next phase, but you can plant them now and they'll stay there until the next phase. So we're able to do that in advance. It's pretty handy. So technically he's got kind of like a krill shield on him that you're not supposed to be able to damage him while it's there. So even though we're shooting him when he's kind of glowing green, it's not doing any damage until that shield goes away. And he's actually attacking us when he does that. So one of us at random gets picked for him to attack, and we might have to kind of do a bob and weave to get away from the krill, because they will beat you up pretty badly. But while that's happening, he is unprotected, and we can do damage to him. So you can see our bullets are kind of bouncing off the skin. Now they're not. And Cypherin's getting beat up by the krill. So that's phase 1. So phase 2, he lands on the ground here. And this is the reason for why McFly's been holding on to the Scorcher this entire time. So if you have the Scorcher and you shoot RAAM with his krill shield, the krill immediately leave his body. You don't have to wait for him to attack. That's something that Rott was aware of. He tried it out, and you know the Scorcher. There's a Scorcher's in Act 4, but there's none in Act 5, so you have to carry them a long way. So you can see like he's scorching him down, and Rott's using a sawed-off shotgun to immediately put him to his knees. And as soon as he stands up, they do it again. Cypher puts the bullets in too, and I'm over off to the side, taking care of a couple of e-holes that are not accessible to plant grenades on. You can only get to that area during this phase of the fight, so we're not able to pre-plant grenades there. So I'm off doing that while they're just putting a ton of damage into him. So that was phase 2. That's way, way, way faster with that Scorcher. And this is phase 3. This can be multiple phases. We're able to get it in one phase through like a really kind of specific setup involving, mostly I would say somewhat involving the Scorcher probably, but mostly involving the Mulcher, which is like a kind of a mini turret that Rott will take care of here. So two Reavers spawn, one after the other, one on the right, one on the left. And as soon as the second Reaver dies, that's when RAAM shows up. So you can see everybody starts positioning themselves where they want to be. McFly's getting going back up to under the arch. So here comes RAAM. He immediately starts shooting with this to get his shield down. Rott is shooting him with the thing. We're all using active reload timings to make sure we get our shots in on him, and he's dead. And that's time. So he would normally he would land on the ground, then he would fly around in circles for a minute, and then he would come land on some buildings. He would go all over the place. And that could take 30 seconds, a minute per extra cycle that you get. So the fact that we were able to kind of pin together a good thing to get him pretty much every time the one cycle was really significant. And that saved yet another minute on our splits to get the one cycle, and with the using the Scorcher sawed-off shotgun strat on phase 2.
Seeing that now, Aaron, it makes me wonder if we could save or balance the ammo enough to use the Scorcher on that lieutenant who has the krill covering him when he goes down, on his knees.
Well, we do have a little bit more Scorcher ammo to use, but I'm pretty sure he just runs off. There's no way to damage him because it's not. He's got like an ink shield, like it's not krill. It's a little bit different.
Okay.
But you never know. I mean, I'm sure there's some more stuff in here. We really don't have any, glitches in this run. At least none that help us. We only had one. We only had detrimental glitches this whole time.
Detrimental ruins.
So there could be some glitches. As far as like the main campaign for Gears of War 3, there's a handful of speedruns for it, and there really aren't any glitches in that either. The early game, like the first game, I think did have some out of bounds and things like that. This game's pretty good about always pulling you back. I've accidentally gone out of bounds before, and it just immediately pulls me back in. So the game's programmed pretty well to handle that stuff, which is pretty cool. So this is, of course, RAAM can't die because he's in the first game, and this is a prequel. But we can at least feel good that we tried, and then he gets away here in the cutscene.
Yeah, my character probably looked in hindsight. It's like we didn't try hard enough because RAAM does him dirty in Gears of War 1. Kim doesn't make it. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of characters don't make it through the Gears of War series. It's a regular Game of Thrones situation.
Yeah.
But it's a cool game. It's a really cool DLC. As far as DLCs go, this is like, basically its own game, which is really neat. And I don't think you really get that. This was from 2010, 2011. This was pretty early on in the days of console DLC, when it was just getting started. So to have such a big campaign was pretty neat.
Yeah, and learning this speedrun was personally for me, it was a lot of fun. Just I love the coordination we had even especially in this run. We've had to improv before, but to the extent that we had to go with this, with the chainsaws failing on us and such, and then that Berserker fight was beautiful. It just, everything came together.
Yeah, it was really cool to be able to have the coordination involved, and the fact that it's not set every time. You have to communicate with each other as the run goes, and kind of come up with some stuff on the fly. Which that run especially we had to when we couldn't use the chainsaws, couldn't stick grenades. So it's a cool run. It was a fun time. So thanks, Cypherin, for hopping on the commentary. And if you've made it this far and listening, thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Peace.
Peace.